Hi, I'm your host, Noah Smith, as always, and today I'm going to talk about something that's really annoyed me lately, and that's when I talk about a movie like Blazing Saddles, let's say for example, that has risque parts or parts that are inappropriate. Well, don't need to put quotes on that. There's some inappropriate parts in there, but boundary pushing content. That's really the thing. And you talk about it to somebody, and they always say they couldn't make that nowadays. Really? They couldn't or they don't. That's the way that I see it. I see it as we could potentially make so much good art, but a lot of the artists can't do it. They're not built the same that they used to be. They're built to reproduce in a robotic fashion like an assembly line, stuff that's already been made or sequels or easy cash grabs. They're not they're not meant to or they're not thinking like an artist. They're thinking like a business person, and that's where art dies. Art is a creative form. It takes shape in so many unique ways. We have music, we have culinary arts, we have just painting on a canvas. That's art. But movies are so universal, it seems. There's movies all over the world, just like there's music all over the world. I'll talk about that one at a different time because music is one of my passions, and that has been destroyed lately. It's getting worse and worse, and we're not doing anything to fix it by just sitting by. We're gonna have to make a change eventually. But going back on the topic of controversial movies, we have movies that can tackle such harsh subjects like Inglorious Bastards and The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. We have those, and we have Blazing Saddles, which even though it's a comedy, still pushes boundaries. And all the people look and they look at the date it was released and they say we couldn't make that anymore. And I understand the point of their argument where the cultural norms and trends are shifting, so we're not making the same art anymore. But I feel like we should still be able to. We should still be able to change the world even if it makes somebody look negative. Take, for example, Black Klansman. That's a movie where if it weren't released very recently, people would say they couldn't make that nowadays. But it's a recent movie, and it's a great movie. Adam Driver says the N word a bunch, and it's like, if he were doing that outside of the movie, we'd probably be like, Adam, you got to calm down there, buddy. But he's playing a character, and he's playing it correctly. He's talking to David Koresh, the leader of the KKK. Do you think that they talk nicely about black people? We need to critically think about this for a second. Do we think that the leader of the KKK is talking about black people like they're his friends? No. That's why you need to play the role. But we're not getting any scripts any day nowadays that are giving people the opportunity to talk like this. We're getting the same sequels to Disney movies because the funders behind these movies, because movies aren't cheap, they're fucking expensive, very expensive. How much was Avatar? Or no, not Avatar. Endgame. Wasn't Endgame like 300 mil to make? It's probably more. I'll look it up after this, but it it takes a ton of money to make these movies, so they need funders, and the funders want to make their money back. Obviously, everybody wants to make their money back, but they don't look at the art. They look at what's going to make them their money back. They could make their money back with a controversial artist that makes a breakout film like the Blair Witch Trials. That was what a $1,000 budget made $1 million or some ridiculous number like that. There's breakouts like that, but a lot of these people, they play it safe. They just go with the same directors that need the money, so they'll make whatever the funders want. And the funders want the same garbage that we've been hand fed for the past decade. That's why the only directors that we truly see consistently pushing boundaries are the ones at the very top who have enough money to self-fund their films. And that's a very select few. Hollywood's already a nepotism club, and you need to know everybody or you're not going to make it big. It makes it a million times harder if out of those people, there's, 5 people that can actually make the art. Because when we make bad movies, and by bad I don't mean like Jack and Jill with Adam Sandler, because that's my favorite movie of all time, obviously. I mean the garbage movies where the plot seems rushed, The story seems rushed. Everything seems like you've heard it before, yeah, just with different character names or different setting, different scenery. We get this and we think, man, this sucks. That actor's bad. The actor's doing his job. He was just given a horrible job. Why'd he accept the role? Because Hollywood sucks, and if you don't accept your role, you go broke. That's how it is for a lot of Hollywood actors, and it's horrible. But they love they want to be entertainers, so they're having to do this. Damn shame, I know, but whatever. We need to talk about how this affects Hollywood and the art industry as a whole, because we see the art just deteriorate over time. We say it reflects bad on the actors, it reflects bad on everybody, it reflects bad on the audience, and I feel like we don't look at that enough. We're watching this garbage. We're the ones feeding into this. If we were able to look critically and see where true art was, like John Leguizamo's Critical Thinking, great movie, and I don't think anybody's watched it, really. I saw it on Netflix. I said, wow, that's a great movie. I've rewatched it about 5 times. It tells a great story in a very accurate way, in a very down-to-earth way, and it delves into the cultural topics, dealing with racism, dealing with wealth inequality, but it's able to do these things so well, but people don't watch it. People would rather watch the same garbage that's been handed to us day after day. We get a new Marvel movie, we get a new DC movie. Everybody's watching it, even though we know that the CGI is going to be horrible because they're just rushing them at this point. You'll still keep watching. What's the point of putting effort in? You'll still keep watching. And then we see, wow, highest grossing movie. It's a superhero movie again. Who saw that coming? The highest grossing and the best aren't equal. It's very clear to make that discernment, because we see a lot of times the masking when the award shows just happen. Almost always just goes to whichever the most popular movie was. Does it mean it's the best? No. But those award shows are rigged and they're paid for by the actors, by their managers. Everything is paid for in Hollywood. You can't trust anything there. And you know this already. So why do we keep watching the movies that are horrible? Why do we keep funding garbage? We see the death of creativity delving into every single form of art. Have you noticed, if you go out to eat somewhere, food doesn't taste as good as it used to. Now that might just be me, but no matter where I go, the food just never tastes as good as it did the first time I had it. Unless you go to places like Little Italy, or like the ghettos of big towns where communities have met together and they've been using the same recipe for 200 years. Those are always delicious. But then you go to the millennial burger joints, and it's like the food's good. It doesn't change you though. Art should change you. When I look at Goya's dark period, where he's painting Saturn devouring his sun, I view that as like, when I initially saw it, I said, that's a crazy painting. But the more you look at it, the more you understand what Goya was going through, and the more you understand his mentality behind it. When I look at Jackson Pollock's Blue Poles, which is just paint splattered on a giant canvas with blue poles drawn on it, or painted on it, I guess, I say, this looks effortless. This looks like something that anybody could make. And then a common argument is, well, you didn't make it. Because I value true art. I'm not going to make something that diminishes art as a whole. What we do reflects on art. When we look back at the 2020s, like it's 2025 right now. When we look back at 2025 in the year 2040, well, we say that was a great year for art. I hope not. If we do, then we're just going to continue this downward spiral for 15 years going toward that. If that happens, we are in a world of hell, because you're seeing it in the music. Look up how many key changes are in top 100 songs right now. Look at the numbers. Right now, it's either 1 or 2 or 0. That's what it's been for the past decade. It's been one or two or zero. Zero songs with a key change. It's like we've lost all our influence. Our influence used to come from jazz, from the blues, from innovating, from changing everything. That's why there's so many different blues and jazz genres, because that's all about innovation. I got my Jimi Hendrix shirt on right now. It's all about innovation and changing. Jimi Hendrix, when he got up there, he changed the way people viewed the guitar. He along with Cream and the Beatles, made psychedelic rock what it is. There's some other bands that I'm forgetting, but those big three, they made it what it is. It's Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, and the Beatles, because you really can't take one Beatle. It's those guys that are innovating, and they innovated in the 70s based off of rock, which was based off of or jazz, which was based off of blues. It keeps going, and the timeline moves, and then suddenly we lose all our creativity. We reach a point, it's in the late 90s. You can see it on the map of the key changes, or the graph. We reach the late 90s, and it drops off. What happened there? Was Kurt Cobain everything we had once he blew his brains out? Did we blow ours out too and just keep living? Did all the artists turn into zombies or chickens without their head on, just running around aimlessly? We can't keep going on like this. We need art. We need artists who are changing things. And we have like one album every 3 years that's really inspirational, and it really changes the way that we view things. But you don't hear about it 99% of the time. I think the last great album that got recognition was probably To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar, because his stuff after that, it got recognition. It didn't have the same impact, not even close. And if I'm trying to think of other artists who have been able to tackle tough issues through their music, I can't. And it's not like I'm not tuned in. I listen to so many different genres of music, but it's really that on the rap side. On the rap side, that's what's the most popular right now. Kendrick Lamar, that album is the only one in the past decade, and I think that was like 2012, so more than a decade, it's really had a grand cultural impact with its lyricism, with its production, because now we have a lot of well-produced albums that just spam 808s because they can't do anything else. That's all the producers know how to do, is do the same thing in the same way for the millionth time, and it turns out the exact same, and we wonder why. We wonder why half the population thinks that the music's shit, and then the other half thinks, oh, it's pretty good. It's because it's rotting your brain when you listen to it. It's like we can all laugh at funk when the Sigma Funk remixes come on. We can all laugh at that. In 10 years, we're going to be laughing at all the trap beats right now because they're ridiculous. It's so repetitive. That's why we hate funk. You listen to funk, it's a shitty vocal loop just going over and over again, and then just a shitty drum loop, and they're just going in sync. There's no change. There's no originality. It takes 5 seconds to make a funk song. It's not difficult. That's why you see people speed running on FL Studio to make beats, and it takes them like 10 seconds. 10 seconds to make a beat. That's how you know your beat is awful. If it can be made in 10 seconds. And it's not even like they need to do too much work. They go in, the drums are already preloaded into FL Studio. You just click them. You just click the buttons. It's a monkey could do it. I've seen them do it in Vsauce videos. They click buttons for fun. They click them for treats. If we started giving them treats, they'd be up there with Metro Boomin right now. But we're really just killing art, and I don't know how we fix this, but I know we need to fix this. So if you like this message, if you like this video, if you thought that this was helpful in any way or made you think, please hit that subscribe button. It helps me a lot. Please hit the like button as well. Comment your thoughts on this. Do whatever you can to help me out, because I feel like I'm going crazy when I listen to albums or I watch movies, and I feel like the only person in the room who doesn't enjoy them anymore. And before I go, that's not to say that I don't like any modern stuff, but it's not popular, and that's the problem. We need to bring popularity in, and many different people need to hear important messages. Some of my favorite artists and movie makers maybe 20,000 people have heard their work ever or seen their movies ever. It doesn't mean it's a bad movie. They're great movies. They're great albums. People need to listen. That's why we say keep your ear to the ground for underground hip hop. Keep your ear to the ground. Listen to your roots. Listen to what's going on around you. Please, I'm begging you, change for the better. Anyway, like I said, I'm Noah Smith. Please subscribe, like, comment your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next time I feel like I'm losing my head.